Welcome to this presentation on the fiscal year 2024 SAFER Grant Program. The SAFER, or Staffing for Adequate Fire and Emergency Response Grant Program, is a crucial initiative funded by FEMA. The program was created to provide funding directly to fire departments and volunteer firefighter interest organizations to help them increase or maintain the number of trained frontline firefighters available in their communities. This grant plays a vital role in ensuring that fire departments have the resources they need to effectively respond to emergencies and protect their communities. This presentation will cover key components of the program, including eligibility requirements, application processes, and funding objectives, with a specific emphasis on the hiring of firefighters activity, otherwise referred to as the hiring activity. As we discuss the SAFER Grant Program, it is important to highlight the timelines and funding available for the fiscal year 2024 program. The FY24 SAFER application period opens on May 23, 2025 at 9 a.m. Eastern Time and closes on July 3, 2025 at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. This year, a total of $324 million has been appropriated for the SAFER Grant Program. Of this total funding, 10%, which amounts to $32.4 million, is set aside for the recruitment and retention of volunteer firefighters, which leaves $291.6 million for the hiring activity. Of the total $324 million appropriation, another 10% is set aside for grants awarded to all volunteer or majority volunteer departments for the hiring of firefighters. The SAFER Grant Program anticipates issuing approximately 300 awards this funding cycle. Importantly, all awards will be finalized and announced by September 30th, 2025, giving departments a clear timeline for planning their application and funding needs. As a potential SAFER award recipient, it is crucial to understand that compliance with the requirements and regulations outlined in the Notice of Funding Opportunity, or NOFO, is mandatory. The NOFO serves as a comprehensive guide for applicants, providing essential information that will shape your application process and funding journey. It is imperative to read the entire FY24 SAFER Program NOFO carefully. Inside, you will find detailed insights into several key areas, including the program's objectives and priorities, which will help you align your application with the goals of the SAFER program. Additionally, the NOFO outlines the eligibility criteria, ensuring that you understand all necessary qualifications you must meet before submitting your application. Key dates are also included, allowing you to plan your submissions accordingly and avoid any last-minute surprises. Finally, the NOFO provides a clear review process and evaluation criteria. Understanding these factors will help you craft a competitive application that stands out during the review process. It is important to note that the NOFO is not just an informational document. It is incorporated into the terms of the award. This means that adherence to the guidelines provided is not optional, but a requirement for receiving funding. You can find the NOFO and additional helpful guidance documents at www.fema.gov/firegrants. The SAFER program plays a vital role in supporting local fire departments across the nation. Its primary objective is to enhance the staffing and deployment capabilities of these departments, enabling them to respond more effectively to emergencies and ensuring that communities receive the necessary protection from fire and fire-related hazards. Local fire departments achieve this goal by improving their staffing levels and deployment strategies. When fire departments are adequately staffed, they can mobilize more personnel to the scene of an incident, enhancing their ability to tackle emergencies efficiently and safely. With increased staffing levels, not only can fire departments expect a reduction in response times, but they will also benefit from having a greater number of trained personnel on site when emergencies occur. This is crucial because in high-pressure situations, the presence of well-trained responders can significantly impact the outcome of an incident. Let's discuss compliance with the National Fire Protection Association standards as outlined in Appendix B of the fiscal year 2024 SAFER Program NOFO. This appendix provides crucial programmatic information, priorities, and key definitions that are essential for applicants. While it's important to note that applicants do not necessarily need to achieve 100% compliance with the applicable NFPA standards, the SAFER grant is designed to help departments move closer to compliance in the most cost-effective manner possible. FEMA places a significant priority on utilizing grant funds to assist fire departments in reaching compliance with either the NFPA 1710 or NFPA 1720 standards. The specific standards outline critical assembly and staffing requirements for effective emergency response. For instance, NFPA 1710 focuses on initial full alarm assignment capability for single-family dwellings, as detailed in Section 5.2.4.1. Meanwhile, NFPA 1720 emphasizes staffing and deployment strategies. It's worth noting that applications demonstrating the largest percentage increases in compliance with these NFPA standards will receive higher consideration during the review process. Therefore, if your department is aiming to enhance its operational capabilities, focusing on how the SAFER grant can bridge the compliance gap is a strategic approach. For more detailed information, please refer to the FY24 SAFER Program NOFO, where you can find comprehensive guidance on these standards and how they relate to your application. Here, we will explore the two primary activities supported by the SAFER grant, the hiring activity and the recruitment and retention, or R&R activity. First, let's discuss the hiring activity. This component of the SAFER grant offers crucial funding to support applications aimed at hiring new, additional firefighters. This means that if your department is looking to expand its workforce to enhance response capabilities, the hiring activity can provide the financial assistance you need. Additionally, this activity allows fire departments to change the status of part-time or paid-on-call firefighters to full-time positions. This transition not only improves the overall staffing of your department, but also ensures that these firefighters are fully engaged and available during emergencies. Now, let's briefly shift our focus to the recruitment and retention activity. This part of the SAFER program assists fire departments specifically with the recruitment and retention of volunteer firefighters. These volunteers are vital as they are often involved in the operational aspects of firefighting and emergency response. By focusing on recruitment, departments can build a robust pool of volunteers who are trained and ready to respond in times of need. The retention aspect ensures that these volunteers remain committed and engaged, which is crucial for maintaining a reliable and effective emergency response team. Today's training will only focus on the hiring activity. Please note, applicants who wish to submit applications for both hiring and R&R activities must submit two separate applications. Understanding who is eligible to apply for SAFER grants is crucial for ensuring your organization can secure an award. The hiring of firefighters activity is designed for fire departments. This includes career, combination, and volunteer fire departments. A fire department is an agency or organization having formally recognized arrangement with the state, local, or tribal nation, or territory authority, city, county, parish, fire district, township, town, or other governing body to provide fire suppression to a population within a geographically fixed primary first due response area. National, regional, state, local, tribal nation, and nonprofit interest organizations representing the interest of volunteer firefighters are not eligible in the hiring activity. The recruitment and retention activity is available to volunteer and combination fire departments. Career fire departments are not eligible in the R&R activity. Unlike the hiring activity, national, regional, state, local, tribal, and nonprofit interest organizations representing the interest of volunteer firefighters are eligible in the R&R activity. Applicants under the R&R activity may also submit a regional request to act as a host, receiving funding on behalf of itself or any number of other participating R&R activity eligible organizations. By carefully reviewing these eligibility criteria, you can ensure that your application aligns with the requirements set forth by the SAFER program. Make sure to consult with the most recent SAFER NOFO for the most comprehensive and up-to-date information regarding eligibility. The purpose of SAFER Hiring Activity grants is to support volunteer, combination, and career fire departments, to hire new additional firefighters, or to change the status of part-time or paid-on-call firefighters to full-time firefighters. These grants aim to improve or restore staffing levels to attain a more effective level of response and a safer incident scene. While applicants don't necessarily need to reach 100% compliance with the applicable NFPA standards, the grant prioritizes enabling departments to get closer to compliance in the most cost-effective manner. There are some considerations, which are continuing from the fiscal year 2024 SAFER program, that we would like to highlight. First, let's discuss the Authorized Organization Representative, or AOR. The AOR is a user role within the FEMA Go system. An organization can have multiple members assigned with the AOR role, but the assignment of the AOR role allows that individual to administer your organization's user accounts and officially sign grant applications. It is crucial that you understand the role and responsibilities of the AOR in the FEMA Go system. Any individual assigned the AOR role must be an official representative of your organization and not a consultant or a contractor. The AOR is the individual authorized by the organization to act on its behalf. Only the AOR can sign and submit a grant application. Consultants or contractors of the recipient are not permitted to be the AOR of the recipient. Next, we'll turn to the narrative evaluation criteria. The narrative statement submitted as a part of the application must provide specific details about the activity for which an applicant seeks funding, including budget details. The SAFER NOFO contains helpful information on the evaluation criteria and how your application will be assessed. Understanding these criteria can help you craft a compelling narrative that highlights your department's needs and capabilities. As a part of the review of narrative submissions, FEMA will undertake comparison checks across all narrative submissions to ensure a submission is unique. Ensure your narrative submissions clearly address each specific element to your organization. Don't overlook the programmatic performance reporting requirements. The submission of semi-annual progress reports will be a condition of any award. Compliance with these requirements is essential for ensuring continued funding and support. Lastly, for applicant review information, FEMA will only review those SAFER applications that fall within the competitive range instead of reviewing every application. Therefore, not every SAFER application will advance to the peer review evaluation stage. We will cover the evaluation stages a little later in this presentation. Now we will discuss the 180-day recruitment period and the period of performance, or POP, guidelines that grant recipients need to be aware of once their application is approved. It is essential to understand that the 180-day recruitment period commences as soon as the application is approved for award. This approval occurs before applicants are officially notified of the award. Therefore, by the time you receive your award notification, the 180-day recruitment window has already begun. This timing is crucial for planning your recruitment efforts effectively. An award package, grant recipients will find important details, including the start date of their period of performance. This date marks the beginning of your project's official timeline for utilizing grant funds. Now, if grant recipients manage to hire all SAFER funded positions before the official start date of the period of performance and wish to commence the POP earlier than the conclusion of the 180-day recruitment period, they must take action. Specifically, they are required to submit an amendment through the FEMA Go system prior to the original POP beginning. This step is essential for aligning your hiring timeline with your funding eligibility. It is also important to highlight that if grant recipients proceed to hire and begin the SAFER funded positions before the POP officially starts without submitting an amendment, there are financial implications. Any salary and benefits incurred prior to the start of the POP will not be eligible for reimbursement. Only those expenses incurred during the officially designated POP will be eligible for funding. In summary, the recruitment period and the management of your period of performance are critical aspects of the SAFER grant process. Understanding these timelines will help ensure that your hiring practices align with grant requirements, maximizing your funding and supporting your department's staffing needs effectively. In the FY24 SAFER grant, funds may only be used to hire new additional firefighters, or for changing the status of part-time or paid on-call firefighters to full-time firefighters. Funds shall not be used to supplant funds. FEMA defines a new additional firefighter as someone who is hired after the date of the grant award. Firefighters who were full-time employees of the department prior to the date of award are not eligible to fill the SAFER positions. SAFER-funded positions must be hired after the date of award. Part-time employees can be hired into the awarded full-time SAFER positions, but the SAFER positions must be new, above current budgeted staffing levels. Let's review eligible costs and requirements associated with SAFER grants. First and foremost, it's essential to understand that salary and associated benefits for the positions funded under the SAFER program are eligible costs. That means that actual payroll expenses incurred for firefighters hired through SAFER grants can be reimbursed, which helps departments maintain financial stability while expanding their personnel. The costs are eligible if they are part of the standard benefit package that is available to all operational firefighters. This includes benefits that are contractually obligated and reimbursed through the payroll processes. Essentially, any compensation that aligns with the normal operations of your department can be accounted for. Now, let's discuss the specifics of what is reimbursable. Compensation for a firefighter's normal, contracted work schedule is fully eligible. This ensures that the funding can cover the salaries of firefighters as they perform their routine duties. However, it is important to note that only overtime costs that are routinely paid as part of the base salary or during a firefighter's regularly scheduled and contracted shift hours are eligible for reimbursement. This stipulation is in line with the Fair Labor Standards Act, which governs how overtime pay is structured and ensures that departments remain compliant with federal labor laws. Lastly, it's crucial to remember that salaries and benefits for firefighters hired with SAFER program funding while they are engaged in initial recruit training are also eligible for reimbursement. This is significant as it allows for departments to invest in their workforce right from the start of the hiring process. In summary, understanding these eligible costs and requirements is vital for successfully navigating the SAFER grant application process and maximizing the funding available for your fire department. For further details, please consult the specified pages in the NOFO. It is important to note that only firefighters who are hired under the new hire category after receiving the SAFER program grant offer of award are eligible for funding. This stipulation ensures that the grant is utilized effectively to bolster staffing levels in a timely manner. Next, we want to highlight that only full-time positions are eligible for funding across all three categories. A full-time position is defined as one that is funded for at least 2,080 hours per year, which translates to 40 hours per week over 52 weeks. This requirement helps to ensure that funding supports positions that can provide consistent and reliable fire response capabilities. Furthermore, SAFER program funds are designated specifically for operational positions. To qualify, these positions must have a primary assignment that is dedicated to a fire suppression vehicle for more than 50% of the time. This focus on operational roles underscores the program's commitment to enhancing the effectiveness of firefighting services. For volunteer and predominantly volunteer departments, there is an opportunity to expand their capabilities even further. These departments may hire individuals to fill officer-level positions, such as chief, fire inspector, training officer, and safety officer. These roles can complement their primary operational assignments, thus strengthening their overall firefighting and emergency response effectiveness. Now let's outline some costs that are considered ineligible under the SAFER program. 1. Salaries and benefits of full-time firefighters who are already employees at the time of the grant award are not covered. 2. Job sharing positions where more than one person fills a full-time SAFER program funded position are also not eligible. 3. Non-Fair Labor Standards Act overtime costs, such as overtime for shift holdovers, extra shifts, or training, cannot be reimbursed. 4. Costs associated with promotions are ineligible. For example, you cannot use grant funds to pay a member a higher salary by placing him or her into a safer funded position. 5. Costs to equip firefighters, such as personal protective equipment or turnout gear and duty uniforms, are also not eligible for reimbursement under this grant. 6. Pre-application costs, which might include expenses for grant writer fees, physicals, medical exams, and background checks, cannot be funded by the SAFER grant. 7. Other ineligible costs include those management and administrative costs associated with hiring, such as background checks and payroll fees, or the costs of annual physicals and medical exams. 8. Indirect costs are also excluded from funding under this program. Understanding these eligible and ineligible costs is critical for departments applying for the SAFER grant. If you have any questions about these requirements or need clarification, please refer back to the fiscal year 2024 SAFER NOFO. Supplanting is defined in the FY24 SAFER NOFO as replacing or taking place of funds that would otherwise be available from state or local sources or the Bureau of Indian Affairs. SAFER grant funds must be used to increase the amount of funds that would, in absence of federal funds received under this grant, be made available from state or local sources, or, in the case of Indian tribal governments, from the funds provided by the Bureau of Indian Affairs. Applicants will be asked to indicate in their application what the department's budgeted operational staffing level, including all budgeted positions, even if vacant, is at the time of application. In order to meet the non-supplanting requirement, grant recipients must have all budgeted positions filled in addition to their awarded SAFER positions. In the FY24 SAFER grant, recipients of hiring grants are required to contribute non-federal funds through position cost limits and cost share. It is important for applicants to understand the full implications, during the 3-year period of performance, of the position cost limit and cost share requirements as outlined in the NOFO. We will now cover these requirements in more detail. Federal funds in an FY24 SAFER award will be limited to the prescribed limits during the grant's 3-year period of performance. In years 1 and 2, the position cost limit is 75% of the usual annual cost of a first-year firefighter in your department at the time of application submission. In year 3, the position cost limit is capped at 35%. Usual annual costs include a firefighter's base salary, exclusive of non-FLSA overtime, and standard benefits package offered by the department to first-year firefighters. Applicants will want to use the average of the highest and lowest health, dental, vision, etc. plan coverage options. Applicants should not simply budget for every firefighter to take the single plan or for every firefighter to take the family plan. The grant does not take into account cost of living or pay benefit increases earned in years 2 and 3 of the grant period of performance. The position cost limit and the amount of federal funds awarded per year and overall is always based on the cost of the usual annual costs of a first-year firefighter, i.e. entry level, at the time the application was submitted. Remember, no extensions to the period of performance are allowed. Therefore, if applicants over budget or request more funds than needed, any excess funds remaining will not be able to be expended. FEMA does not require recipients to demonstrate availability of cost share funds at the time of application. However, before FEMA issues an award, the agency may contact potential awardees to determine whether the recipient possesses the necessary non-federal funding. Here's an example of how the position cost limit is calculated. In this example, the usual annual cost for a first-year firefighter at the time of application is $100,000. In year 1 of the grant's period of performance, the position cost limit and maximum federal funding for that one position would be $75,000. The $75,000 limit is calculated by taking the total cost of $100,000 and multiplying it by 75%. The same calculation of 75% would be applied in year 2. In year 3, the maximum federal funding would decrease to a maximum of $35,000 for that one position. It is important to understand that the cost share is on top of the position cost limit. Cost share and position cost limit have the same percentages, but they are different. A position cost limit is based on usual annual cost of an entry-level firefighter at the time of application. The cost share is based on actual salary and benefits incurred during the period of performance. For hiring activity grants, recipients are required to contribute 25% of the actual costs incurred in each of the first and second years of the grant, and 65% of the actual costs incurred in the third year of the grant. In the first and second years of the grant, the amount of federal funding may not exceed 75% of the usual annual cost of a first-year firefighter in that department at the time the grant application was submitted. And in the third year of the grant, the amount of federal funding may not exceed 35% of the usual annual cost of a first-year firefighter in that department. It is very important to note that the position cost limit and cost share requirements overlap. Here is an example of how the cost share is calculated and limitations applied. In this example, the usual annual cost of a first-year firefighter at the time of application is $100,000. As such, in years 1 and 2, the maximum federal funding would be limited to $75,000, and in year 3, limited to $35,000. In this example, the department incurs actual costs of $80,000 in year 1, $95,000 in year 2, and $110,000 in year 3 for this one firefighter position. The federal portion for year 1 would be capped at $60,000, which is 75% of the total actual cost of $80,000. The recipient will be responsible for contributing the remaining balance of $20,000 in year 1. In year 2, the federal portion is capped at $71,250, based on a department incurring actual costs of $95,000. The recipient will be responsible for contributing the remaining balance of $23,750 in year 2. In both years 1 and 2, the maximum eligible federal funding is below the $75,000 threshold as calculated in this specific example. In year 3, the federal portion is capped at $35,000 based on a department incurring actual costs of $110,000. The recipient would be responsible for contributing the remaining balance of $75,000 in year 3. Unlike years 1 and 2 in this example, the year 3 federal portion is capped at $35,000 since the position cost limit is met. This instance is an example of where the position cost limit and cost share overlap. As outlined in the FY24 SAFER NOFO, in order to be eligible for SAFER program funding, applicants are required to certify that their annual budget for fire-related programs and emergency response has not been reduced below 80% of the applicant's average funding level in the 3 years prior to the application date. It is crucial to note that no layoffs of operational personnel are permitted during the grant's period of performance. This stipulation is in place to ensure that fire departments maintain a robust and responsive workforce throughout the funding period. Recipients are obligated to take active and timely steps to fill any positions vacated through attrition, resignation, or termination. As part of the application process, award recipients must submit a pre-SAFER program roster. This roster should list all operational personnel who are employed at the time of the award and supports compliance with the National Fire Protection Association Standards 1710 or 1720. This roster serves as a foundational document to establish the staffing levels prior to receiving the grant. In addition, recipients must commit to a critical principle. Firefighters hired under these grants cannot be discriminated against or prohibited from engaging in volunteer firefighting activities in another jurisdiction during their off-duty hours. This provision underscores the importance of supporting firefighters' rights to contribute to their communities in various capacities, even outside of their primary employment. We will now cover the SAFER program application review process, which consists of 3 distinct phases to ensure a thorough and fair evaluation of all applications. Phase 1 is the electronic pre-scoring phase. During this phase, applications are initially screened using automated scoring criteria based on the information provided in the application. This preliminary assessment helps identify submissions that meet a competitive range. FEMA will only review those SAFER applications that fall within the competitive range instead of reviewing every application. Moving on to phase 2, we enter the peer review process. In this phase, qualified reviewers, who are typically subject matter experts in fire service and emergency response, carefully assess those applications that fell in the competitive range. They evaluate various components, such as clarity of objectives, alignment with SAFER program goals, and overall programmatic priorities. This peer review is critical as it provides valuable insights and recommendations based on professional expertise, ensuring that each application receives a comprehensive assessment. Finally, we arrive at phase 3, the technical review. This phase involves a detailed examination of the application by FEMA personnel. The technical review focuses on the feasibility and effectiveness of the proposed plans, the appropriateness of the budget, and the applicant's capacity to successfully implement the project. It serves as a final check to ensure that all submissions align with the program's intent and regulatory requirements. The SAFER program application review process is designed to be systematic and rigorous. By employing electronic pre-scoring, peer reviews, and technical evaluations, the evaluation process identifies the highest scoring projects that will enhance the firefighting and emergency response capabilities of local departments. The electronic pre-score process is conducted for all complete and eligible applications. This initial phase focuses on assessing the information submitted to identify how well each application aligns with the SAFER program's stated priorities. Central to this process are the activity-specific questions and the information provided in the Department Characteristics section of the application. These elements are critical in determining an application's standing relative to the program's priorities. Each response is analyzed to establish how well it meets the program objectives, which could include factors such as staffing levels, community needs, and operational readiness. Once this standing is established, each application receives a computer-generated score, known as the pre-score. This pre-score reflects how the application ranks in relation to the SAFER program priorities based on the provided information. It is important to note that the pre-score constitutes 50% of the total score for hiring activity applications. This means that achieving a favorable pre-score is vital for applicants as it significantly influences the overall assessment of their proposal. Once the electronic pre-scoring is complete, the applications with the highest rankings advance to the peer review panel process. This critical step ensures that the evaluation of applications is thorough and based on expert input. In this phase, a panel of 3 peer reviewers is assembled. These reviewers are experienced professionals within the firefighting community who have a deep understanding of the challenges and requirements faced by fire departments. Their role is to score the narrative statement provided in each application and make informed funding recommendations. The scoring from peer review is essential. It constitutes 50% of the total score for hiring activity applications. This means that the insights and evaluations provided by the peer reviewers can significantly impact an application's overall standing. The narrative statement is a crucial part of your application, as it allows you to articulate your department's needs, objectives, and the impact that SAFER funding could have on your community's emergency response capabilities. A compelling narrative that clearly conveys these elements can enhance your chances of receiving favorable scores from the panel. After the peer review scores are finalized, applications are rank ordered, starting with the highest scoring application. This ranking is crucial because it directly influences the allocation of available funding. Each application is assessed not only on its score, but also in conjunction with statutory allocation requirements, ensuring that all funding guidelines are met. Following this rank ordering, FEMA conducts technical reviews of the highest scoring applications. This comprehensive assessment is essential for ensuring that the funding requests are appropriate and viable. During this phase, FEMA reviews each application with respect to several critical factors. Costs. Are the requested amounts reasonable and justified? Quantities. Are the quantities of requested positions appropriate? Feasibility. Can the proposed plan be realistically implemented? Eligibility. Does the application meet all the necessary eligibility requirements? Recipient responsibility. Is the applicant capable of managing the grant effectively? Once these technical reviews are completed, applications are forwarded to FEMA's Award Administration Division. Here, they undergo an additional financial integrity review. This step is vital for ensuring that the proposed financial management aligns with federal regulations and safeguards against the misuse of funds. Understanding this process helps you appreciate the importance of crafting a strong, detailed application that addresses these elements. The more transparent and well-supported your application is, the better your chances of moving forward in the review process. The following slides detail the tools and resources available to grant applicants. Technical assistance tools will be available to support your application for the FY24 SAFER Grant opportunity. You can find these resources on the FEMA website at www.fema.gov/firegrants. First and foremost, familiarize yourself with the Fiscal Year 2024 SAFER Notice of Funding Opportunity, or NOFO. It is critical, and this document outlines the program's objectives, eligibility criteria, and application requirements. Understanding the NOFO thoroughly is essential for crafting a competitive application. Next, check out the Frequently Asked Questions section. This resource addresses common concerns and queries applicants may have, offering valuable insights into the application process and the eligibility requirements. Additionally, the application checklist is an indispensable tool. It provides a detailed outline of all necessary components and steps needed to complete your application successfully. Following this checklist ensures you don't miss any critical elements. One of the most beneficial resources is the self-evaluation sheets. These sheets are designed to help applicants grasp the criteria that must be addressed in the narrative statements. By using the self-evaluation sheets, you can rate your own application, which not only helps in understanding your strengths and weaknesses, but also provides an indication of how your application might be perceived by the peer reviewers. The narrative evaluation criteria, which are essential for scoring, are outlined in the FY24 SAFER Program NOFO. Familiarizing yourself with these criteria will enhance your application, making it more likely to meet the expectations of the reviewers. Utilizing these technical assistance tools can significantly improve your chances of success in securing funding through the SAFER program. It is important to understand that applicants will not be awarded grants without an active SAM.gov registration. This is a vital step in the application process, so make sure you prioritize it. For those of you who already have a SAM.gov account, please take a moment to check your registration status and ensure it is active. Keep in mind that a SAM registration must be renewed annually. Failing to renew a SAM registration can result in your record becoming inactive, which could jeopardize your chances of receiving funding. Effective April 4th, 2022, the federal government transitioned from using the Data Universal Numbering System number to a new identifier known as the Unique Entity Identifier. If your organization had an active registration in SAM prior to this date, the UEI has already been assigned to you automatically. No action is required on your part. However, if you are registering a new entity in SAM.gov after this date, the UEI will be assigned during the registration process. For organizations that are currently registered in SAM.gov, you will find your UEI listed in your entity registration record. It is worth noting that FEMA Go has been updated to use the UEI as the primary identifier for registered organizations. As you move forward, keep in mind that new registrations in both SAM and FEMA Go will require the use of the UEI. It is essential to have a current and active SAM registration to be eligible for funding. Each applicant must possess its own unique UEI and SAM registration, as sharing UEI numbers is not permitted within the FEMA Grants Outcomes system. The good news is that registering in the SAM.gov system is free. However, if you are a new entity, be aware that the registration process can take weeks to complete. It is advisable to start this process as soon as possible to avoid delays in your grant application. The online application is available through the FEMA Grants Outcome System, better known as FEMA Go, which you can access at go.fema.gov. This platform allows you to submit your application and track its status. For additional application information and resources, you can visit the following websites. The SAFER program website at fema.gov/firegrants. Here you'll find program details, eligibility criteria, and other vital information. Grants.gov is a comprehensive source for federal grant opportunities, where you can also find information specific to the SAFER grant program application process. The U.S. Fire Administration website at usfa.fema.gov provides resources and tools related to fire safety and emergency response. These resources will assist you in navigating the application process and ensuring that you have all the necessary information for a successful submission. FEMA Go supports only the most recent major releases of the following web browsers: Google Chrome, Mozilla Firefox, Apple Safari, and Microsoft Edge. Please note that users accessing FEMA Go through tablet devices or other unsupported browsers may encounter issues, so it is recommended to use one of the supported browsers for the best experience. An important feature of the FEMA Go system is that there are no save buttons. The system automatically saves your information as you navigate through the application. This means you won't lose any data if you are forced to exit an application and return at a later time to complete it. If you forget to complete a question or input an invalid response, you will receive a red error message to guide you in correcting those errors. Additionally, multiple individuals can work on the application simultaneously. If someone else is editing the application at the same time, you will see a message indicating their activity. Here are some tips for using the FEMA Go system. First, do not type using only capital letters. This helps maintain readability and professionalism in your application. Next, be aware that text boxes are limited to plain text. They do not allow for formatting, and many text boxes have character limits. Therefore, keep your entries concise and focused. Avoid using tables, special characters, or fonts. This includes quotation marks, bullets, and any graphs. Additionally, you cannot add photos, charts, graphs, or any other graphic files like JPEG or GIF formats into the text boxes. Before submitting your application, it is crucial to double and triple check the information. Ensure that all facts and statements are accurate and consistent throughout the entire application. Collaborate with finance or other relevant departments to verify the information you provide. Lastly, if you include any filler or placeholder text while completing the application, make sure to update those fields with your final complete answers before submission. Following these guidelines will help ensure a smooth application process and increase the likelihood of your application being well received. If a grant writer prepares your application, it is essential that an authorized organization representative, or AOR, reads through the application before it is submitted. This final review helps ensure accuracy and completeness. By submitting an application, you are certifying that all information contained in the application is true and accurately reflects your organization. It is important to note that any submission of information that is false or misleading, regardless of intent, may result in actions by FEMA. Once the OAR submits the application, it cannot be changed. However, you do have the option to withdraw and reopen a submitted application, but this can only be done while the application period is still open. Be sure to resubmit the application before the end of the application period to be considered for funding. Upon submission, the OAR will receive an email confirmation from the FEMA Go system. This confirmation serves as proof of timely submission, which is crucial for your records. Taking these steps will help you navigate the application process more effectively and ensure your submission is properly documented. Finally, we will outline the support resources available to you during the SAFER program application process. If you have questions regarding the program, the application, or general inquiries, you can reach out to the Fire Grants Help Desk. This help desk is staffed by professionals who are equipped to assist you. You can contact the Fire Grants Help Desk by phone at 1-866-274-0960 or email at firegrants@fema.dhs.gov. Help desk hours are Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Additionally, the FEMA website offers helpful information and guides designed to assist you in developing your application. For technical support with the FEMA Go system, you can reach out to the FEMA Go Help Desk. This help desk addresses any technical issues you may encounter while using the FEMA Go system. You can contact the FEMA Go Help Desk by phone at 1-877-585-3242 or email at femago@fema.dhs.gov. FEMA Go Help Desk hours are Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. Eastern Time. Utilizing these resources can enhance your application experience and ensure that you have the support you need to navigate the process successfully. This concludes the fiscal year 2024 SAFER Program Hiring Activity Overview. All of the materials referenced in this training are available at www.fema.gov/firegrants.